Hi everyone, this is Sean. Welcome back to my channel. Please press the like button, subscribe, share, comment. I appreciate all the dialogue. I appreciate all the feedback. I appreciate all of you. Thank you so much for being part of our security community. For those of you who are new to this channel, this is how I record a lot of my videos. This is actually my recording studio. Sometimes you see my face and sometimes you do not see my face. I have nothing to hide. It's just the fact that it's dark outside. That's why we're recording like this. So in today's video, we are going to discuss unlicensed security guards. And I'm going to give you a story that you are going to find rather interesting, that you are going to listen all the way to the end. I do have to change around the facts of this situation, and I have to turn it into a fictitious story, if you know what I mean. Anyhow, earlier today, I was at work, and I work in a small town in a desert area known as Desert Hot Springs, California. What ended up happening was we got a call for service regarding somebody who was trespassing. And this person routinely trespasses. The RP, which is the reporting party, mentioned this person's name by actual name from all of the other prior occasions. This guy is a repeat offender, back and forth, back and forth. When we get there, this guy is super agitated, and it's almost feels like he's about to throw a punch. I mean, it almost got bad, and we have dealt with him on prior occasions. And I was just thinking, why is this guy so agitated? So he starts saying that private security stole his bike or took his bike. And he was just focused on that point. So then one of my guys tells me, hey, you know what? I think security did take his bike, and that's probably why he's upset. I think we need to look into this a little bit further. So I go down to the mall. There's a little small indoor mall in this city, and I make contact with the RP, the reporting party, who happens to be a private security guard. And I ask him, hey, by any chance, did you take this guy's bicycle? And he said, I did. I'm like, okay, that's interesting. And I said, just out of curiosity, why did you take his bike? So then he goes on to say that it's company policy to take someone's bike if they're riding it on private property. I thought that was a really interesting policy. And I said, let me rephrase this. It is against company policy to ride a bike on your property. Therefore, you're able to confiscate it. And he says, yes. Okay. That's rather interesting. And then he goes on to say that his boss told him to do so, and he's just following orders. So I'm getting irritated at this point in time. I'm thinking, you know what, this guy almost got into a full-blown fight with us because this security guard wants to actually not wants, he actually did confiscate his bicycle. So I asked him for his guard card. In that case, his proprietary security officer registration, because it looked like he was in-house private security. So then he says, I didn't bring it with me, which is already a warning sign. And then he says, yeah, I didn't bring it with me. It's at home. I forgot. Sorry. Well, do you have a valid guard card? I actually asked him, do you have a proprietary security officer card or your guard card, which is basically your standard registration for private security? And he says, I have my guard card. I said, all right, fine. I was going to be okay with that, even though when you're in-house in when you're in-house in California, you're supposed to have a proprietary security officer license. I thought, okay, fine, I'll be okay with just the guard card. So he said he forgot it. I said, okay, great. What's your first name? What's your last name? So I pull up the BSIS website, enter his first name, enter his last name. All of a sudden, kaboom, pops up, expired from like 6 months ago. Expired. You're lying to me. So now you're lying, which is essentially delaying a peace officer. So I get a little bit frustrated. I said, it's not like you don't have one. You have one that's expired. So you don't have one at all. I don't know why you said you did. Oh, well, I renewed it. Okay, do you have proof of the renewal? Because here it says expired. Yeah, right? If he would have been able to produce the guard card or even a proprietary security officer license, he would have been okay. So then I ask if his employer, well, I ask who the employer is, and he tells me. I said, what does it say on your paycheck? Like, who pays you your salary? And then he told me, and I look up that employer. That employer does not have a proprietary security employer license. We have a problem. Guys, I am usually not nitpicky, but when you do stupid things like confiscate someone's bicycle, their property, and then they have interaction with law enforcement almost gets into a full-blown violent encounter with them, you know, there's going to be some frustrated people like me. And this guy, the security officer, actually an imposter, is one of the reasons why there are so many laws that we have in California and elsewhere. Essentially, they mess it up for everybody else, for a lack of a better term. I'm just sick and tired of this behavior. So one of the officers that's with me already knows what time it is, and she fills out a citation. He's basically cited out for not having the proper registration. Okay. The employer's gonna have to pay for this one, guys. I mean, for not having any license at all. Now, going back to this so-called company policy, there is a reason why people need to be trained and licensed out there, for this exact reason. Because they're coming up with these laws, with these regulations that violate essentially people's rights. What right do you have of taking someone's bicycle? And then he goes on to say, well, another reason why, actually the main reason, he changed the story like 3 times. The main reason why I took it is because it was used in the commission of the crime or something to that effect of trespassing. Therefore, you confiscate the bike. And it's a second bike. I've talked about confiscating bicycles in other videos. I'm not going to mention a security company out there that I did a social media review. They're throwing a bicycle in the trash can, and we discussed that, right? Something that you could do maybe 20, 30 years ago. But now you just don't do that. You just don't do that because you don't have the authority. Now, what the laws in California tell us, and by the way, if you're chiming in from another state, keep in mind that California law is very similar to the laws in your state, especially when it comes to abandoned property. But what we do know in abandoned property is that you have to make a reasonable effort to locate the owner. Okay, reasonable effort. You can also, part of your effort could be contacting the police. Not at one time did the security officer, imposter, tell us that he had the bicycle. At no time. And then there was another prior occasion where he also took the bicycle, and we didn't even know about the other bicycle. So what authority do you have? Well, it's absolutely none. You're supposed to make a reasonable attempt to locate the owner. If you don't do that, that's considered a crime. It's called misappropriation of lost property, or misappropriation of property, depending on the state that you're in, which is a misdemeanor offense. Did this guards or imposters, did his employer really tell him that? I believe that there's a possibility that he told him, hey, confiscate the bike, because apparently he got in trouble before by the employer for not taking the bicycle. all I got to say is there is a reason why employers need to be licensed. There's so many other occasions. I'm usually against like government overreach, but this is one of the reasons why there's laws out there, is for organizations like this one and security officers here that want to remain, for lack of a better term, oblivious to the legal requirements of having a guard card or proprietary security officer license. And it upsets me that you and I, we need to have license, unless you're in Iowa. Wait a minute, it's Idaho. Okay, you and I, we need our guard card or permits and everything else. And yes, Sean has a guard card. I have guard registration. I am legally authorized to work private security. I have my license. I pay my fees every single other year. I have a payment pending for February. But I've kept it constant for at least over a decade. If I pay my fees and you pay your fees, shouldn't this person also pay their fees? Shouldn't they also pay their dues? If you have to create a proprietary security employer license for your organization, so shouldn't these guys. And for that reason, he was given a citation. All right, guys, if you're chiming in from California, an offense like this, you could cite them out as an infraction or a misdemeanor. And I will leave in the link in the description box below the actual misdemeanor section. And basically, it is a cite and release. It is cite and release. All right, guys, if you guys have any comments, concerns, questions, let me know. I'm looking forward to your feedback on this. Take care.